Hello and welcome to Comprehension Points Video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of Fury by Elizabeth Miles. Not the first video, go check out the others. Links are posted below. The following video might be difficult for some viewers. If you are struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out. People care about you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Chapter 15. It's finally New Year's Eve. Emily made plans to meet up with JD and his aunt in the city later, and she's currently riding the train to go do so. As she's sitting there, she's trying to write something, but finds that she can't find the words right then. She also thinks about buying Gabby a gift. To make up for what happened with Zach or not is never really said. Emily notices that a girl is staring at her, and Emily thinks that she looks like the girl who'd been stalking and haunting her in the past couple of days. The girl comments on the red flower in Emily's bag. Emily thinks that it's from Zach, and even after their fight, she can't bring herself to get rid of it. She somehow thinks that is some reminder of how she hadn't imagined the entire thing. And the entire thing feels like Emily is still holding out hope that Zach is going to dump Gabby and be with her. The girl introduces herself as Allie, so at least we know that this is one of the Furies. Although there were three of them, so if Allie's going after Emily and Ty's going after Chase, who is Meg going after? Emily is kind of freaked out over the bizarre interaction. Even though there is nothing off about what Allie said or did, the entire thing just feels wrong to her. However, following the conversation and Emily getting off at her stop, she throws the flower away. Good for her. Emily then buys a scarf and sweater for Gabby, which she admits was over her price range. Do I care about this? Still no. But the fact that the author hasn't magically learned that the readers don't need to know every little detail about a character's life since chapter 14 isn't all that surprising to me. As Emily gets back to the train station so that she can take it to meet up with JD, she sees Allie across the way, and Allie is staring at her. The train comes and Emily gets on. It goes to a couple of stops and Emily finally starts to relax. Then Allie shows up again, which is impossible because Allie had been on a different train platform for a train going in the opposite direction. You're following me, Em gasped out. The girl shrugged, not offering any explanation, just cocking her head with that same psycho smile. Emily runs for the drawers just as they start to close. She makes it through, but her bag gets stuck in the door. She's forced to release it or lose her arm in the process. She's also one stop away from where she's supposed to meet JD, but decides to just walk since she doesn't want to get back on the train again. However, as Emily walks around up top, Allie shows up yet again. At least she brought Emily's bag. So while she might be intent on murdering Emily or whatever, at least she hasn't lost her things. However, there's another new red flower pinned to it, and Emily has to remind herself that she threw the other one away. Emily is quick to call Allie on her creepy stalker behavior, which, well, Emily might not be smart enough to stay away from her best friend's boyfriend and had to catch Zach talking about how much of a dog he is, but at least she has just enough common sense to stay away from a creepy lady who is clearly following her. Chase can't even pass that bar. Emily practically runs over to where JD told her to meet up with them. He finds her and Emily plays it cool now that she's with her friend. They go sit on a bridge and watch the fireworks. As the show is going on, Emily can't help a weird desire to kiss JD. As the grand firework finale to ring in the new year goes off, the two of them hug and the moment passes. After that, as they go to leave to return home, Emily separates from JD to get a hot chocolate. As she's returning, she sees Allie talking to JD and storms over there, but by the time that she gets to JD, Allie is long gone. Emily is insanely upset over the entire thing and angrily friends JD about the girl without once bothering to say that the girl had been stalking and harassing her during the trip up. JD only says that the girl was asking for directions and left after JD told her them. He also chalks up Emily's behavior as jealousy, again because Emily couldn't be bothered to explain what had happened to her. On the train, Emily thinks about coming clean to Gabby as soon as possible, that it would be worth it to keep her friendship. She leans against JD and is comforted by his familiar scent, but a thought keeps running through her head. You forgot something. Chapter 16. The chapter opens with Chase having a symbolic dream about how evil that Ty and her cousins actually are. I would care if the narration was actually bothering to do anything with them, but it's not, so here we are. Chase wakes up and thinks about how it's the day of the football feast. He still doesn't have anybody to go with, and let me tell you how excited that I am about hearing him whining about being unable to find a girlfriend. He thinks that no matter how terrible things are between him and Zach, at least Zach can put aside their fight so that they can focus on this. Chase is also sure that no matter how terrible his life currently is, at least he's still a football star. Nothing quite like announcing that you know that you've already peaked. He goes to school, and although things seem normal, there's an air of offness that Chase can't put his finger on. He goes to the meeting where some boys are laughing over something, but refuses to say what when Coach asks. After the meeting, Chase feels like he's suddenly a social pariah with the rest of the school population, but he doesn't understand why. And then he walked into the cafeteria. That's when he saw them, and it all became clear. Pictures of him were everywhere, naked, exposed, blown up to life size, and plastered above the cash register. Literally, no teacher or staff went to take that down. Okay, I know that this book is supposed to be about getting revenge on the people who were mean to the author in high school, but at the same time, I really want to look the author in the eye and ask her if she knows that this is literally a federal crime. This is called distribution of child pornography, and it is illegal. The school would have shut everything down. The police would have been called, an investigation launched. It's also illegal for teachers to not report this kind of stuff. A random girl tells him that there were more up earlier, but the janitor has been cleaning them up. Chase runs off to go hide, but runs into some other boys. They make fun of him, calling him the Q word and such, which, what I don't understand is how poetry and nude posing is suddenly considered gay. I get this is high school and the odds, but come on, not everything is gay. Ugh. He runs off to an old gym that's no longer in use after the new one was built, but in there he finds Emily crying. Emily said that she'd gone to meet Gabby that morning and had offered her the gift that she'd bought at New Year's, but Gabby threw her coffee in Emily's face, which, wow, because we didn't see that coming. She was saying that I hit on Zach and that it was all my fault, she went on, not even letting Chase respond, and that I was a deceitful who tried to steal people's boyfriends, like as if Zach had no part of it, as if I had just been lying in wait, you know. Emily's right, though. It takes two to tango, and as I keep saying over and over, Zach is way worse than Emily in all of this. Chase is confused over the timeline of this since Gabby only got back into town last night. Emily says that Gabby had gone to the store to grab something she'd forgotten on her holiday, and some rando at the store had told Gabby everything, except that it had painted Emily like the relationship wrecker, and Zach was completely and utterly innocent in all of this. At least this is what Emily tells Chase. Since Gabby isn't a point of view character, we don't know what actually went down. Chase tries to tell Emily that she'd gone in over her head and these things happen. Emily also comments that she saw the pictures and how sorry she feels for Chase. Chase then asks Emily if she believes in karma. As an example, he says that his dad used to get drunk and then beat up his mom, and then Daddy died by being bashed in the head with a piece of heavy machinery. Karma. He then remembers the football feast and says that he's not going, but Emily reminds him that he's the captain and he can't not go. He invites her as his date, stating that they'd make the best couple of rejects. He goes on and says that it's not like things could get worse for them, which is fair, but there's an awful lot of book left. Chase's phone rings with some messages from Ty. She's apologizing, as she should, considering that she literally took and distributed child porn. Like, there's literally no other source for the naked photos. But Chase is so distracted with thoughts about her that he barely has time to make plans to meet up with Emily later before he leaves. Chapter 17. Emily is desperate to talk to Gabby to expose Zach for the cheater that he is, but Gabby has been ignoring her all day, so Emily decides that she'll pull Gabby away at the football feast that night. In the meantime, after school gets out, but before the feast, Emily decides that she'll burn the stuffed zebra Zach had given her. She could just throw it away, but sure. So she puts the thing on her dad's grill and it catches fire easily, but then her scarf catches fire too, and she spends a frantic moment trying to put that out. She then grabs the charred remains of the stuffed zebra and stuffs it into the snow while thinking about that creepy note. Sometimes sorry isn't enough. Later, Emily goes to where the feast is being held, but Chase isn't there yet. Instead, Emily runs into Gabby and Zach. Gabby pointedly tells Emily that nobody wants her there, despite Emily insisting that Chase had invited her. Emily then decides that it's now or never and asks to speak with Gabby. However, Gabby calls Emily out on her nonsense. Friends don't sleep with their friends' boyfriends. Gabby shoves Emily into the coat closet before announcing that she doesn't want to see Emily ever again. As she's leaving the situation, she realizes that she has a missed call from Chase. He said that something had come up, and he's not going to make it, and please don't go to the feast. Emily worries about him, so she decides to go check on him. As she's driving over a bridge, she thinks that she sees something, so she stops, and then she hears a faint cry for help. She gets out, finds a girl with a broken leg in the snow, which isn't so weird except that there's no footprints or any indication as to how she got there. The girl says that a car hit her and drove off. She had a phone, but then it got lost in the snow. The entire situation is ringing so many alarm bells in Emily's mind, but she isn't quite sure why. But Emily obviously agrees to take the girl, Meg, to the hospital and offers to call somebody for her. However, at the hospital, Emily all but shoves Meg out from the car with an excuse that she doesn't want to explain herself to her mom, who works at the hospital. As Emily leaves the parking lot, she skids a little on the ice. She thinks that maybe that's why Chase hadn't wanted to go out, because it's a miserable night and people could get into an accident. She looks down and realizes that Meg left something behind, a red ribbon. Gabby had told Emily before the coffee throwing that somebody wearing a red ribbon had told her everything, and although Emily logically knows that there are plenty of people who have access to red ribbons, this entire thing is setting off even more alarms in her head. The contents of this book can be quite intense, I know. If you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. People care about you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all of my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, then you can find even more Snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Members also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, you can either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just 1 cent per word. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!